What's the worst case of helicopter parenting you've ever seen? I knew a guy whose mother would listen in on phone calls and tell him what to say on the phone whilst he was talking to me or one of our friends. I'm talking about when landline was the norm, so he'd answer the phone, and she'd go pick up the other phone and it'd be a three-way conversation. Literally every time I'd speak to him, it was like talking to an echo. Me. Hey, do you want to come to the park today? His mother tell him you have to study for Tuesday's test. Him. I have to study for Tuesday's test. This went on from ages 10, 16-17. After that, everyone started to get mobile phones. From what I've seen heard, she still comments on his every Facebook photo, interrogates friends should they be foolish enough to actually visit his home, and is even more protective of his sister. I was a birthday party host at a Lacertag place in an upper middle class area, and I saw a lot of these types. This one, however, goes down as the worst helicopter parent in memory. We always let the birthday kid into the vest room first, so that they felt special and so we could make sure they knew how to play. Well, when I pulled Jimmy, or whatever, into the room first, his father comes barreling up to my co-worker who was blocking the door from the swarms of other tiny children waiting their turn. He's literally yelling at the top of his lungs, "Let Emmy in there. That's my son in there," like we were literally kidnapping him before his eyes. Once he was in, he calmed down a bit and watched while the kids played tag. After the game, it was birthday cake time. I don't know how many of you all know about the consistency of different birthday candles, but this kid's cake had the crappy little happy birthday letter candles that melt atrociously fast. Naturally, tiny droplets of wax got all over the cake, but it's non-toxic and kids usually just don't give a crap, right? Nope. Hallie dad tells me the wax is a carcinogen and that I will not serve the cake until I have removed every single bit of wax. He even sat and carefully watched me do it. I did my best, but apparently it wasn't enough cause he didn't tip. Kid's gonna be messed up one day. If wax was carcinogenic, you would A. know beforehand and B. not even try to put it on a child's birthday cake. Carcinogenic wax sounds like a lawsuit just waiting to happen. Not really one instance, but many from the same parent. Cutting food for a 16-year-old, explaining the menu over the shoulder of said 16-year-old, using the word PP for penis for said 16-year-old, checking his Instagram and starting a conversation about it at family dinner of said 16-year-old. This was in 2 hours. Yesterday. Cringe. Family member changed her daughter's menstrual pads until she was 17. Complete babying until she graduated from high school. Daughter so immature it made my hair hurt. Then, family member demanded child get a job and start paying some of the bills like house payment, utilities and car payment. Daughter moved out at 32. My mother is the worst helicopter parent to ever exist. She creeped me out. She was so bad. She, like many parents on this thread, never let me go anywhere. Once I got my first real boyfriend, my now husband, it legitimately almost killed her. Her and I, fought all of the time about everything my boyfriend and I did. I had to ask if he could buy me tampons with his own money and I didn't have any with me. I had to ask if he could buy me a shirt I liked. Nothing crazy, some anime shirt. I was only allowed to see him once a week, only on the weekend and almost never on Sunday, never ever twice a week. I had to text and give updates the entire time I was out. His house, our house now, had the worst signal ever, so texts hardly ever came through or went out, so she was constantly driving from my house to his to check up on us. Outside of her issues with my boyfriend, she would make random visits to my high school to watch me eating lunch. She called my teachers every single day to write down what I did in class, what the homework was, and what my grades looked like. She bothered them so much that several of them pulled me aside and told me they were concerned for my well-being. For a while, unprovoked, she made me get every teacher to sign my planner at the end of every class every day so she knew I was going. I never skipped class in high school. I only skipped one period once in 7th grade and learned really quickly to never do that again. My former college posts their little police blotter on Facebook. Not that long ago, they posted with a story about a parent who saw that his daughter Snapchatted with a boy at 2 AM from her dorm. Supposedly, this angered her father so much that from the time of the post until around 10 AM the next morning, he kept trying to call his daughter, but she wasn't answering the phone. So what does he do? He calls the university police and reports that she's missing. So they basically do a welfare check on her, and the story ends with the student contacted her father. I commented on the Facebook post, said something like dad's just upset that his adult daughter's hooking up or something. A man who appeared to be in his 40s 50s angry emoji'd my comment. I like to think that this was the dad. Had a 31 years old show up at a job interview with his mother. I was quite confused when a 50-something woman came in and presented herself and his son. In high school, the mother of one of my classmates asked people on Facebook to pray for her oldest son because of his pee addiction. I DK if that is helicopter parenting, but it was definitely weird. I've told this story before on Reddit, so my apologies if this is a repeat for you. My brother was injured in a training accident in the Israeli army. It wasn't life-threatening, but it was a pretty messy injury that needed immediate care. For some reason, the base commander tried to hide the injury and refused to send my brother to the hospital. Instead, he sent him to the camp medic, who took one look at my brother and said, "Here, have some morphine, and holy god, I'm going to call for help." My brother asked him to call my mom. My mom, a military police major at the time, commandeered a helicopter along with a squad of MPs. She then flew up into Lebanon, where my brother was based, landed in the middle of his base, ordered her way into the medical tent while setting the MPs outside as guards, loaded my brother into the chopper and evacuated him out. To be fair, she's a great mom who usually lets us fail on our own. But you asked for helicopter parenting examples, and it doesn't get more helicopter parent than actually commandeering an armed helicopter to go take care of your son. I think your mom did what a lot of parents would do if they had the means. My mom never let me go play with friends. Each time I asked if it was like being interrogated by the CIA, and even after I answered the questions, if would be unlikely I'd be allowed to go. When I did go to a friend's house and I asked to stay longer than my mom had graciously allowed, she'd ask what's wrong with my house and why don't I want to spend time with my family. That largely ignored me, and she'd show up at my friend's house to check and make sure I was okay. She'd randomly call my friends to make sure I was okay if I didn't reply within 5 minutes. She would never let me shop on my own. Once, after a particularly nasty fight between her and my stepdad that ended with him nearly killing me, she insisted she had to be in the room during my therapy sessions to treat the anxiety caused by the incident. Hard to talk about your issues when the cause of most of your issues is in the same room. My mom would also micromanage me when I did my homework. Once she hit me so hard I bled on my HW. Fun times were had growing up. WTF, there are two stories that need to be explained. The stepdad and bloody HW thing, if it isn't too hard to talk about. Not the worst case, but it always baffles me when I see a 17-18-year-old walk into a job interview with their parents. Not too sure how common this is, but I've seen it happen a few times. Interviewed a guy fresh out of college for a job once, and his mom called me for a follow-up a few weeks later. I have a friend in his late 20s whose mom won't let him use Facebook, takes away privileges for minor things, and won't let him go out for more than a few hours on his own. I've met the mom. She's very controlling and yells at him about every tiny faux pas. My mom tried to ground me for hanging out after the office Christmas party when I was 21. So funny. My cousins coddled my cousin's husband so much that when they arrived home from their honeymoon, his mom was there in his kitchen making dinner because she was the only one who knows what her baby likes. Spoiler, nothing containing any type of fruit or vegetable, which have never crossed his lips because if he didn't want to try it he should never have to. She also still goes over to their house before every vacation to pack his suitcase for him, because a 35-year-old award-winning teacher and father of two couldn't possibly know how to pack his own suitcase, and obviously neither could his wife. That's the kind of personality where they think, or act, like they're doing something for someone else while completely serving their own interests. Comes with varying degrees of awareness, but always hard to confront. I knew a person who basically was so unprepared that the university basically assigned her a social worker to help her navigate life. She was brilliant, but her mother made running her daughter's life her raison d'etre. Because of privacy laws, the uni couldn't legally tell the mother anything, which made her go ballistic and had to be removed several times from the campus in the early morning for trying to break into the dorms. I met her in college where she was volunteering at. I worked in the office. with the life skills classes that basically helped her put her life together. She had to graduate a year late because of all the remedial work she had to do. She did her master's degree and PhD in Europe. She had citizenship through her dad, and then moved to some little village in the middle of nowhere, simply to get away from her mom. Her mom still looking for her over a decade later, telling everyone that will listen that her father kidnapped her and is keeping her child from her. My best friend got married last Saturday. After the reception in the afternoon, she had to lie to her parents. She said was going to go shopping with her new husband, but really she went back to his house. They told her to be back to their house in 2 hours. It was infuriating to witness. My cousin and his wife weren't allowed to live together until the day they got married. Then when she got pregnant, her father told her that she will name her son after him, first and middle names. Grandma feeding 13-year-old so he doesn't have to interrupt playing his PS3. I don't see that as parenting as much as that kid needs to have the PS3 taken away. IDK, the mom who came and ate lunch with her sons and sat in class with them until they were in 8th grade, and broke through a police barrier during a lockdown to get to her son is definitely up there. The dad who came to every single cross-country and track and field practice, prohibited his daughter from talking with other athletes, and coached her and exclusively her at practice until the administration told him to F off as a close tie. When said administration told him to stop, he verbally and physically assaulted the school athletic director and immediately switched his daughter to a different school. IDK man. My friend lives in one of the safest neighborhoods in the city, and when he was in 6th grade, he was still not allowed to go to school by himself on a weekend, so that I could meet up with him. He lives around 4 blocks away. It was my mom. I love her and she's gotten much better, but as the oldest, I was the trial run and I was a dumbhead. So I hated high school, but got enough credits to graduate early. Usually, the graduating class got done a few days early, so there were a few days of class for the underclassmen after graduation. My mom noticed a parent email from my math teacher about a missed homework assignment that she missed in her inbox the week prior. She got this the day after I'd graduated and I was leaving to go to basic training within the week. She printed the assignment out, did the work, and then asked me if I wanted to go grab a bite. Kidnapped me and drove me to the school that I had just graduated from the day before and demanded that I go hand in my missing assignment to see if I could get my grade bumped. Like, no B, I will not. Never got to have that lunch either. I practically have to learn some things that my other peers already know how to do over the summer before I'm on my own. It's embarrassing and honestly, my mother sheltered me a frick ton. You have been visited by the Wealth Rat. Subscribe in 12 seconds and he will share his wealth with you. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.